Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again this evening in the season two of Tell Me About It series. It's There's nothing serious about it. We don't talk serious issues. It's just for talking through your heart, whatever your experiences have been, and the fun moments, and whatever you would like to talk about on our show about your journey as an artist, whether it's a musician or a dancer. Today we have with us a very dear friend, a very wonderful dancer herself, Kathak dancer, Shivani Verma. Everybody knows her. She's done some really nice productions. I've worked with her on a few productions as well. Let's not wait more and invite her into the chat room. Hello, Shivani. How are you doing? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How are you today?
Very well. I have some butterflies.
Thank you. Mine too. That happens every time I'm sitting right in front of the computer and in front of the camera. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for agreeing to be on our show. It's such a pleasure to have people from the field of arts talk about their journeys, and I really enjoy it because it has been my whenever I watch a movie or anything, I always enjoy watching the actual making of the movie than the movie itself. So this is also like that, कि dance तो होता है, but उसके पीछे क्या होता है, या music तो होता है, but उसके preparations and all that, and the journey of that artist, how it all happened. So let's not wait more. I'll just take a few comments. Nupur ji says, Namaskar Shivani ji and Indi ji. Shivani ji, welcome to TMAI. अच्छा, ये TMAI भी पिछले साल इसका एब्रिविएशन बनाया था हमने टेल मी अबाउट इट का. Thank you so much. Mahua ji says, Namaskar dear Shivani ji, it's a pleasure to have you on TMAI with the most amazing Inni Singh ji. Thank you so much Mahua ji. Most amazing वगैरह मुझे समझ नहीं आता, बाकी सब ठीक है. और I've known you for a few years. I've worked with you on a few projects, especially जब से ये pandemic हुआ, all this lockdown things have happened. We've worked on a couple of projects, and Murad Bhai is here. He says, Adab Inni Bhai and Shivani Verma ji, welcome to our Tell Me About It season 2. Best wishes. Murad Bhai says best wishes. I remember Murad Bhai talking to me and saying all the best Inni Bhai, and I said, Murad Bhai, I don't need it. it's like Ayan Bhai had said in the previous episode about a violinist who was going on stage and he greeted her and said all the best. She said, I don't need it. And
I heard that.
It's like
yeah, confidence and just the ability to be sure of yourself, which is extreme.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens if you go on the stage or तार टूट जाए, तार टूट जाए या mic खराब हो जाए, anything can happen. Nitin Bhai has joined us. Hello Nitin Bhai. Hello Inni Bhai. Hi Shivani. Nitin Bhai says, hello Nitin Bhai. Thank you so much. पहली बार इन्होंने मेरा show join किया लगता है. Thank you so much Nitin Bhai. And see, I've known you, and I know you belong to a family of mainly lawyers, and which is great lawyers. Your husband is a good, very known lawyer. And how come you're into a field which is completely like lawyers, artists? Tell me about it.
Okay. So it's actually really interesting because even I've always wanted to be
Just a sec. I just got a message from Shovna ji. She's here. Inni ji and Shivani, great to see you. Namaskar Shovna ji. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. I've worked a lot with Shovna ji also very recently on videos, and I've really enjoyed. And she's an inspiration. She kind of teaches you even without teaching you how work should be done.
Oh my God! We have up with Didi, and yes, and thank you, Didi. Thank God you're here. So.
We have Chandra Tapa Saha. They say, hi Shivani, looking pretty as usual. Okay. So we were talking about your journey, how it all started.
Yeah. So
since you were you yourself are a lawyer.
Yes, I am a lawyer. Yeah. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. I mean, because I come from a family of lawyers, and because we used to have these discussions from as far as I can remember, when everyone was talking about it and I couldn't understand the complicated language and the terminology, I had decided early on that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I carried that through to the point where I studied law, graduated, practiced law, and then gave it up. So, and it's just something, and dance is something. Yeah, dance is something I never wanted to do. I wanted to do, meaning that I always, my mother had this dream of wanting me to be a dancer, because before I was born, she saw some performance by Sonal Mansingh ji. And she said that if I have a daughter, then she has to learn Odissi in particular.
Okay.
So, and then I'm the firstborn. I have a younger brother. So when I was born, she was all excited about it. When I was in my kindergarten, my pre-nursery school, उस वक्त वहाँ पे मेरे जो pre-nursery के dance teacher थे, very sweet man. His name is Ashok Lal ji. I don't know where he is, but he took an interest in. I was 3 years old. He took an interest, and he told my mother that I mean, all the annual days he would feature me, and he was very fond of me. So he told my mother, आप इसको कथक सिखाइए. So my mother said, नहीं मुझे तो ओडिसी पसंद है, मुझे ओडिसी सिखाना है. So he said, नहीं ओडिसी सीखेगी तो, it was obviously his way to like get me towards कथक. He said ओडिसी सीखेगी तो इसके hips बड़े हो जाएंगे, तो आप ओडिसी में बाद में डालिए. हाँ, अभी नहीं डालिए. So my mother, see, we have no dance background. Like there's a lot of Rasiks. Everyone loves it. Everyone has the greatest respect for it. So I come from a very culture loving family. But in terms of knowledge, मतलब इतना वो base नहीं है कुछ भी. So my mother believed it. So she said कि चलो कथक से शुरू करते हैं. And then उनको थोड़ा बहुत जो आता था तत्कार वगैरह, he would teach me folk dance mainly. And थोड़ा बहुत बीच में तत्कार डाल दिया, उसका बेसिक तत्कार वहीं से सीखा. And बहुत छोटी थी, so it wasn't the time also I think to learn. पर उन्होंने जिस तरह से सिखाया, I think because उनकी वजह से I fell in love with the dance, or dance in general, or whatever I was doing. And I think that for me is the most important thing, because once you fall in love with it, then my mother, when she wanted to send me to Odisha, I said, नहीं मुझे बस कथक ही सीखना है, मुझे और कुछ नहीं सीखना है. So as time went on, she then put me my first like serious education in Kathak probably began at Uma Sharma ji's dance school, which was in east of Kailash. So वहाँ पे Manish Gangani ji सिखाते थे, and Guruji was my first Kathak teacher. And उनसे मैंने वहाँ पे सीखा. And fortunately, again, this is again Providence. एक सरस्वती पूजा वहाँ बसंत का हमेशा बहुत अच्छा फंक्शन करती हैं उमा दीदी. सो उसमें अगेन आई मस्ट बीन 7 or 8 years old. तो उस पे जब वहाँ पे सब बच्चे डांस करते हैं, everyone gets an opportunity, and Guruji had again given me a pretty prominent part. And उसमें then she spoke to my mother, and I think that's in a way another beginning that happened for me. Uma ji herself came to my mother and said, आप इसको जरूर सिखाइएगा, बहुत बच्चे छोड़ देते हैं, आप जरूर सिखाइएगा क्योंकि इसमें बहुत प्रतिभा है. Now, I was 8 years old, but for someone like that to say it, and to my mother was anything so keen on me learning dance properly, तो उनको तो बहुत खुशी हुई वो, मतलब she was very very excited that I have a daughter who finally can do something, So she says, to have someone who has some talent. कोशिश नानी ने भी किया, मैंने भी किया, चलो कुछ तो होगा. So that's how I got into, I mean, sort of a more serious format of dance. And I mean, the journey for me is pretty, gaps बहुत थे मेरी journey from this point onwards, because I learned when Manish Guruji left her institution, वो guru से attachment थे, so I also left. Now वो घर की classes somehow didn't have the same discipline. तो फिर मम्मी after Uma ji said अब अगर सीखना है तो कथक केंद्र में सीखना है, because at that time and even today Kathak Kendra is the most prominent institution, for Kathak.
Yeah.
So then she made me audition at the age of 9, I think, or 10, just 2 years later, audition at Kathak Kendra. And I was a very shy child, very, very shy. And audition se mujhe aaj tak dar lagta hai. Like I will probably fail an audition if I have to do one today also. But I got through that audition, and Maharajji was, in that big group. I still remember the little child walking in, and pata nahi kaun the, but they were like, 10 people on my head. Now I think I can see 20 people sitting. It was very scary because I was one little thing.
Yeah.
Sare guru
Right.
log बैठे सामने. Maharaji, of course, I remember, and like him asking me, and my mother had also said, Maharaji, like, you need to like, behave like, ठीक से करिए, and all that lecture had been given to me. So fortunately, I did make it, and Maharaji put me in the second year with Bharti Didi, Bharti Gupta ji, who used to teach there. And I was put in that class. But उस वक्त ना मुझे अपने, it was not a interest that was coming out of myself. I was just following what I was being told to do. And the discipline of Kathak Kendra, it's my shortcoming कि मैं उस time उस चीज को पहचान नहीं पाई. लेकिन उससे मुझे बहुत boredom होता था. So I wouldn't go for that discipline class. I started bunking class. And I would sit outside with my driver and my maid in the garden and not go inside. And finally, my mother got a letter of, ki lack of attendance ke liye.
Wow.
My God, I got such a scolding that day. She's like, "Aapki bachche ki attendance is not enough." My mother says, "To go thrice a week, 4 times a week."
वो तो रोज जाती है.
The maid, everybody is like, "Kya?" So इसके बाद gap आया. Then there were a lot of really important like teachers, I would say, because I would distinguish. A lot of people came as almost जैसे वो वापस खींचने के लिए आए थे. A lot of people came on the track like that. So I learned, for example, in school there was Asavri Didi, Asavri Pawarji. She also was I used to love her. She's so nice, and also she also, so something would keep drawing me back. But seriously, I mean, honestly, my training really suffered because I was not very serious about it. And finally, when I came to cut this really long saga short, is that when I met Shobna Didi, unse jab ab tak main college mein pahunchi, I met Shobna Didi is when I finally found my guru. Like I mean, all this journey, and I finally discovered why I was there. She brought that aspect of looking at dance differently, of looking at dance as something that's not just a hobby, that you can do it even if you're studying something else or you're working something. Because Didi personifies, my God, she's superwoman. She's like top of the class in everything she does. So she's this amazing artist, and who's reached the greatest heights there. In her bureaucracy, she was a highly successful bureaucrat. So she had all these, and when I got to know her, like all these aspects were there in. So it was very inspiring to have seen that. And then I said, oh, wait a minute, this is something that and that also she built, because when I came back to dance, it was just because I was missing stage. It began as a thing for stage, and performances to laga ki, kahan pe, like, I also want to do that again, like in a while, and not again thinking of it seriously. But Didi ko paas jab main aayi pehli, I don't know if Didi will remember this.
And when was that? When did you come for the first time?
I was in college. So I finished my...
You were in college, acha.
I was in college. I'm doing law now. Okay, I've reached... I mean, there's a lot of things...
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I came to Didi, and obviously halat to kharab thi, because like I hadn't danced properly, learned properly, consistently, not properly. I learned whenever I did learn properly, but it was very inconsistent. So, but Didi ke paas aane se, Didi took me to Tirath Guruji, Tirath Ajmani ji, who teaches in her institution. He's retired now. Tirath Guruji ke paas Didi took me. I really don't know if Didi remembers. And her lines were like, तीरथ भाई, इस लड़की को स्टेज पे उतारना है. मैं तो बस वीकेंड अटेंड करने आई हूँ, 1 घंटा क्लास, like just like she is the one who actually saw something or envisioned something for me that I honestly had no idea about, because as I said, I was very steadily on my journey to becoming a lawyer, and it was my ambition to become. So and then Didi started. Unke saath then that whole professional front of things opened up, and how to delve deep, how to look at various aspects. Over the years, like again, it was a slow churning, but that's how I can say if I can call myself a dancer today, that's where it really happened.
Shobna ji, I remember talking to her when I was talking to her about her disciples who are dancing. I was asking her, you have, or she's been. I told her, or I was asking her, "Okay, Shobna ji, you are blessed, or you have that capacity to produce solo dancers on stage." And every dancer, every disciple of hers, more or less, I have seen is a solo dancer herself. And I'm sure I got a message from Sudha Thangaraji. She says, Shivani, you're blessed to have Anuradha Akka as a wonderful mother. She's inspiration to many.
Yes.
And I've known you for a lot of years. I don't know anything about your parents or that they are lawyers. But how did they take your decision to leave after becoming a lawyer, to leave all that and become a dancer? So is it like
yeah.
See, if I see it from my point of view,
Yeah.
let's talk about finances here.
Yes.
And if I say इतने लॉयर बन के आप बहुत पैसा बना सकते थे, डांसर बन गए, which was your ambition actually. But again, as they say that some people have asked me कि आप फोटोग्राफी फैशन में चले जाते, बॉलीवुड बॉम्बे चले जाते जब मैं थोड़ा जवान था एंड मुझे उस टाइम भी मौका भी मिला था, बट आई सेड या दैट विल फीड माय पॉकेट बट दिस फीड्स माय सोल. सो इसलिए मुझे जरा कि जो मुझे वो मिलता है, जो शांति मिलती है, जो अंदर एनर्जी मिलती है, वो इसी से मिलती है, वहां से शायद ना मिलती. So that is what I wanted to ask. How was the transition? Was everybody okay with it?
So see, touch wood, I come from a very open-minded family, in the sense that decisions मेरी होती हैं, चाहे गलती करो तो उसको भुगतो, अच्छा किया तो उसका मतलब कोई उसका श्रेय नहीं लेता है, which is a good thing. Because I make my own mistakes and I learn, and then so my mother's first reaction was, all this time बोला था करो, डांस नहीं किया, जब बोला तब मत करो, एकदम से
yeah, see that, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, so that was the reaction generally in my family, that like they weren't against it, लेकिन उन्होंने वो उम्मीद बहुत सालों से छोड़ दी थी और मेरे में तो वो कभी था ही नहीं, मतलब I never wanted. So they said कि ये कहाँ से हो गया है, अब तुम कॉलेज में हो, graduate in the sense you are heading towards law, now think of a master's to go abroad, थोड़ा Ivy League में किसी में apply करो, मतलब but masters now उस time तक I was wrapped up around, I mean I just wanted to be around Shobna Didi and do everything like that was happening in class, मतलब class में जाओ, rehearsal में जाओ, फिर wherever she was taking us to perform. I was so wrapped up in that कि मुझे उस चीज का वही बिल्कुल होश ही नहीं था that I need to focus on this. So it was happening. I was still going to be a lawyer. At this point, I had not thought I will. लेकिन I was very true to what I was doing. So मेरी family में the reaction was not anti it, but they didn't take it seriously for a long. They didn't take me seriously for a long time. जो कि नेचुरल है, मतलब उनकी गलती नहीं थी, क्योंकि मैंने इतना नॉन सीरियसली लिया था, तो फिर वो क्यों उसको सीरियसली लेंगे.
Exactly. Right. True.
They just said this is some rebellious thing I'm doing, मतलब कि इधर जाना है. And my nanas also.
But was there at any time?
Yeah.
Achha, they're all lawyers.
Rebellion.
So nobody sued you for it. Nobody. Okay, बेटा lawyer की जगह dancer बन रहे हो.
नहीं.
अच्छा, what I so when you started or when you thought of seriously getting into it, so who was obviously Shobna ji must have been your inspiration looking at her. So did you do your first solo with her, like जैसे Shobna ji ने कहा? And when was your first solo? When did that happen?
In Kathak, we don't have that Arangetram system, right? कि मतलब एक stage पे पहुंचे, because stage learning is part of the training. मतलब आनी चाहिए how to present. So I mean, बचपन में किया था, अकेले stage पे नाचना, मतलब let's call it like अकेले stage पे.
Like when it was your stage.
Yeah, but a proper मतलब कायदे का presentation was definitely under Shobna Didi thing. It was at Ganesh Natyalaya. They had a festival, and Didi had recommended me as from her side as her disciple to perform. And I think that was probably my first proper solo, where I had to carry that responsibility of being my guru's shishya and being in the public eye at a prestigious institution, जहाँ पे Saroja Guruji and Rama ma'am, and so that was a very important, and that was my first step. That would have been in 2006 or 6 maybe.
Achha.
I'm a little sketchy about dates, but somewhere around that time.
Around that much. Okay. About 15 years ago. That's about 15 years ago. 15 years ago. Okay. That's about the time when I started photographing dance.
Yeah. So, you and I have an interesting story also.
Exactly. Yeah. I photographed you once and you ignored me.
I didn't see you, on
we didn't meet but you had booked me for that show, and I came and I shot, and you didn't even call me the next day. I was like, ये शिवानी लड़की कौन है यार? मेरे को फोन नहीं किया.
I swear मैंने आपको देखा, and आप जानते हो because we've had this conversation. मैंने आपको देखा. Honestly मुझे कुछ नहीं दिखता है. It's not. I'm not just saying this. It's not. मुझे कुछ नहीं.
About that I understand. हाँ.
I understand. No, you're not like, because there are a lot of my friends and co-dancers, when we used to dance in a group, like one of them particularly would be like, did you see Vedant waving? Vedant and I were dating at this time. So, did you see Vedant was waving? And did you see that your so-and-so was standing? And I said, तो नहीं देखा कुछ, like I have no idea. So I'm very oblivious. But so I don't blame you कि आप कहते इतना बड़ा लेंस लेके मैं सामने खड़ा हूँ देखा नहीं. Like, it's just one of the.
No, I understand now that the whole this thing was put to rest when we spoke about it, and all the confusion was. There was another question. I'm getting a question, a message from Mahwaji. She says, I still remember meeting Shivani for the first time for Asavari Pawar Didi's dance ballet, Mahishasur Mardini, and we had such a good time together.
Oh my God, Mahwa Didi, I thought is the most beautiful person in the world when I saw her in that Mahishasur Mardini, and it was Guru Pratap Pawarji's production. And I was bacha. So this is what when I was saying Asavri Didi kept pulling me, like there were these people, very important people actually. So Asavri Didi, that was one of those occasions where I was being pulled back into dance. And then seeing people like Mahwa Didi there, and honestly, I don't even remember anyone else except her from that production, apart from Asavri Didi, of course, because she was so nice, and she, of course, as a performer, and I don't know, Didi Devdas that happened then, or I'm not sure, something, but like I was totally in awe of her. So she, it was.
I've whenever I've worked with you, I've seen you've done like productions which are more thematic, more theme based, and उसमें story hai, it has a storyline, then you have different sets and all that, lighting and everything. Obviously Nitin bhai does that, if he's still with us watching it. But I haven't seen you perform a traditional जैसे जो होता है, Kathak, जो traditional open खुला जो मैंने shoot भी किया है, all that. So was it your personal choice कि मेरे को thematic करना है, and because it gave you more creative or it gave you a more clear storyline about the production you were doing? Why haven't I seen that?
Okay. So yes and no. Yes and no, because I do enjoy thematic. The process, it's what you said, no? It's the behind the scenes that is also so important, rather than that's it. So for me, the behind the scenes of a thematic production, because it has an extra, for me, and I have nothing against, of course, the traditional format.
Yeah.
For me, it's more interesting because it makes me read, I research, it makes me go into that topic more deeply, and then how to translate a particular topic, then topic banta hai. So after my research, after my notes, I make a script which I write myself. So that was for me, because I'm fond of writing language, मुझे पसंद है ये सब, तो वो स्क्रिप्ट बनाने में मुझे मजा आता है. स्क्रिप्ट बनाने के बाद फिर सोचा कि इसमें म्यूजिक कैसा बनेगा, तो उसमें देन क्या क्या इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स आएंगे, कौन कौन, because thematic production, again, you have some I can negotiate that space. So that also for me is very interesting, because then the music, and then when we sit on composition, it's different, and then the final result is whatever. But the journey of that I have found more interesting. The stage experience, though, in a traditional format, is more fun, because, and you've not seen it, because people don't offer me those sort of stages anymore because
probably because you've made yourself people think कि शिवानी है वो तो production ही करेंगी.
पता नहीं, I don't know, मुझे वो platforms नहीं मिलते हैं. So I mean,
I remember honestly, like we're on the show and I'm asking you questions, but I'll tell you something. When I used to see you in productions, like I remember I photographed you in Dive once. I think that was Gandhi, your production. Was that the production?
Yes,
there. And also the production, I think a couple of other productions that I've seen of yours and I've photographed them. I remember when we recently did that project for Samapa, that we shot with Nitin Bhai. When you were performing and when you were dancing, actually, like, a traditional thing, you like a fast dance. So I was telling Nitin Bhai, I was standing downstage, below the stage with the camera and everything. I said, यार ये तो बहुत अच्छा डांस कर लेती हैं. And he said, इन्हीं भाई आपको क्या लगा? मैंने कहा नहीं, मुझे तो लगता था ये बस वो स्लो सा थीमेटिक वाला ही होता है इनका सारा. But she's quite a तैयार dancer, and that is, and I was like, अच्छा इनको ये सब, that was the kind of, I was like, अरे इनको तो सब कुछ आता है जो मैं सोच रहा था कि इनका कभी देखा नहीं है. That is why I had this question. Yeah, you're more into themes and thematic style.
I enjoy them equally, but as
like you said,
the platform, it's a different journey, and also I feel maybe I have a slight edge also in the thematic. So in class, like you practice what you need to get better at, and you need to become better at what you're good at, and all that. वो class scenario है. Stage mein somehow your strengths should, because if you're dancing at a professional level, there's no point, so thematic, I might have a slight edge because of a certain combination of things in my experience with learning, with dance, with my gurus. Maybe I have an edge, but the traditional format is being danced beautifully by a lot of people. And I have no fear of doing that. I would love to do it given the right platform. But अभी जो लोग मेरे लिए देखने भी आते हैं, even if I think all the audience is a secondary thing, I do it because I want to do it. लेकिन say for my friends, उनको नहीं समझ आता है traditional format. उनको समझाने के लिए मुझे कुछ ऐसा करना पड़ेगा जिसमें वो thematic से traditional उनको feed किया जाए. नहीं तो कितनी बारी वो शिवानी को देखने आ जाएंगे. So
look what your guru says. Shivana ji says, Iniji, Shivani is not only a very tayyar dancer, but also a dancer who has depth. So this is coming from your, that's obviously the blessings. No,
and Didi, it's not correct, because Didi, when I was in class or in any situation, even when we talk, she has always emphasized the taiyari and abhinay and everything has to go hand in hand. फिर आप क्या चूज करो और किस वे में जाओ, बट मुझे तैयारी दिखाने में कोई वो डर नहीं है. पर मेरे जो प्लेटफॉर्म्स है, आई नीड टू कनेक्ट माय ऑडियंस टू द डांस फॉर्म एंड ब्रिंग देम इन. आई डोंट कम फ्रॉम अ फैमिली ऑफ डांसर्स. आई डोंट कम फ्रॉम अ ग्रुप. मतलब सोशल लाइफ में भी मेरे नहीं है वो लोग जो समझ पाएंगे कि अगर मैं सिर्फ हाथ आमद दिखाऊं, फिर मैं पूरा कायदा करके उनको दिखाऊंगी, उनको मजा आएगा श्योर, लेकिन आई वांट टू ब्रिंग देम टू द पॉइंट जहां वो समझे भी, एंड जब मुझे कभी प्लेटफॉर्म मिले जहां पे समझ आए, फिर आई मीन आई एम वेरी,
वहां पे उन फ्रेंड्स को मत बुलाना.
नहीं
I said वहां पे उन फ्रेंड्स को मत बुला. नहीं. I remember you saying this. I remember once I had my cousins who had come from abroad, and I took them to a performance many years ago. I took them to a performance in IHC. मैंने उनसे बोला मैंने फोटोग्राफ करना है ऐसे ही, तो डांस परफॉर्मेंस. It was a Kathak solo by somebody, and so I said let's go there, and I want to show you Indian classical dance. So when we went there, the person who was dancing, I won't name him, the person who was dancing, he was dancing less but speaking more, और वो भी हिंदी में, और वो वहाँ पे बता रहे थे, and जैसे जो कथक का एक स्टैंडर्ड जैसे उनका फॉर्म है, तो वो, लेकिन उस डांस में लग रहा था कि डांस इतना नहीं है जितना वो स्टोरीज बता रहे थे या तिहाइयां सुना रहे थे या सम पे आ रहे थे, ऑल दैट. सो माय कजन्स हु वर नॉट इंडियन, दे कुडंट अंडरस्टैंड एनीथिंग. तो वो मोस्ट सरप्राइजिंगली शी आस्क्ड मी कि डांस कब शुरू होगा, एंड आई वाज लाइक ये डांस ही तो हो रहा है. and she was like, नहीं हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा नहीं होता, you know. Then that thing came about the thematic thing. In fact, I had an argument with them. Afterwards, we reached home. कि हमारे इंडियन क्लासिकल डांसेस को ऐसे मत बोलो, इसका फॉर्मेट ही है.
Actually, classical, it's not the fault of the dancers or the dancer.
Yeah, exactly.
The audience somehow has got disconnected in India, especially with we are हमें अपनी ही संस्कृति से बिल्कुल detachment है, because we are trying to westernize because of the education and the rights. Or we are all at fault. ऐसा नहीं है. So audiences have lost that sense of pride in their own music and dance. Now it doesn't matter when a person of a certain level, वो तो किसी को भी समझा दे ना, जैसे महाराज जी हैं या मतलब उनके लिए. So let's not talk about the greats, but for a dance it's a learning process. तो अगर तो वो डांसर, और ये मुश्किल है वैसे, क्योंकि कथक में ये समझाना is part of the repertoire, मतलब वो बातचीत, वो बीच में रुक के बात करना. But what happens is that sometimes if you're, I guess, not comfortable enough, या आप कभी कुछ ज्यादा बोल जाते हैं, कभी कुछ तो उसका बैलेंस रखना थोड़ा जरूरी हो गया है अब. दो घंटे 3 घंटे तो कोई बैठता है ही नहीं, तो आपको एक्सप्लेनेशन भी देना, इन माय ओपिनियन, माय वेरी हम्बल ओपिनियन, उसका. बट इट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट एंड इट्स अ वेरी ब्यूटीफुल पार्ट. तो जो लोग आपस में देखते हैं, जैसे कोई पहचानने वाले जो लोग हैं, वो तो मजा भी ले रहे हैं, लेकिन उसी चीज को किस सहजता से प्रेजेंट करना है, वो हर प्लेटफॉर्म के लिए may not be right.
That's right.
सबको समझ आती है. That's why so it's easier also, But I feel what we should do is make it easier to understand the tradition, because it's very important that हम इसकी पकड़ रखें. वो तो रहना ही चाहिए. लेकिन somehow उसी चीज को इस्तेमाल करें और इस चीज को ग्रो करें इन द ऑडियंस, कि हमें भी समझना है ये क्या चीजें हैं और क्यों है, ये क्या है, ताल और लय और इनका मिलन क्या है, तो नहीं समझ आता.
Right. मुराद भाई had a question. He says, शिवानी जी, आप वैसे मुराद भाई जब भी कोई क्वेश्चन भेजते हैं, it's like a letter. मैं उनसे बोलता हूँ आपकी चिट्ठी आई है. So शिवानी जी, आप कथक के भाव के लिए म्यूजिक और लिरिक्स को कितना इंपॉर्टेंस देती हैं? क्या आप समझती हैं कि कथक के लिए म्यूजिक सीखना और समझना भी जरूरी है? That's an interesting question.
Very nice.
Music, what would you like to say about it?
It's fundamental for me actually, because जब तक म्यूजिक अच्छा ना हो, तो मुझे पर्सनली डांस का मजा नहीं आता. तो composition and it's integral. Lyrics again very very important. But I think it's an individual thing. Sometimes people may want to make the dance first and then make the music, but मेरे लिए the inspiration actually comes from the music. तो मुझे अगर अच्छा म्यूजिक मिल जाए, मुझे लगता है मेरी आधी परफॉर्मेंस already guaranteed is good. The rest I have to work hard now. But if the music is not good, I feel that, so I'm in a way a dancer who is dependent on, at the moment, at the quality of my music. So for me, बहुत बहुत जरूरी है. और आपका second part क्या था question का?
क्या आप समझती हैं कि कथक के लिए म्यूजिक सीखना और समझना भी जरूरी है?
जी है, पर अनफॉर्चुनेटली मैंने बचपन में अगेन अपनी मम्मी की बात नहीं मान के नहीं सीखा म्यूजिक, लेकिन बहुत जरूरी है. अब मैं थोड़ा बहुत सीखी हूँ बीच बीच में, जस्ट टू अंडरस्टैंड. एंड आई हैव बीन वेरी लकी एक्चुअली कि मुझे बहुत बहुत काम करने को मिला ज्वाला अंकल से, पंडित ज्वाला प्रसाद जी के साथ. एंड आई कंसिडर दिस वन ऑफ माई ग्रेटेस्ट प्रिविलेजेस इन एज अ डांसर, कि उनकी जितना भी वक्त मिला मुझे उनका काफी मिला, सो उनके साथ बैठने में काफी चीजें समझ आई अबाउट कॉम्पोजिशन एंड ऑल. पर किसी को भी कोई भी डांसर्स है जो शुरुआत कर रहे हैं, या अभी भी, मैं आई थिंक इट्स नेवर टू लेट. तो मैं तो अभी भी सोचती रहती हूँ कि कब शुरू करूँ गाना सीखना, एंड जस्ट आउट ऑफ प्लस डिले होता जाता है प्लान. लेकिन जरूर सीखना चाहिए, क्योंकि musicality फिर बॉडी में भी आ जाती है. I think I'm sure it helps. So yeah.
So I hope Murad bhai you got your answers.
Kathak is based on music actually in so many ways, because all the footwork that we do, you know, just the system, जैसे आलाप शुरू होता है, ठाट शुरू होती है, and as the build up happens, I mean, we are very true to the musical tradition actually. We are the personification of, if done correctly, of our music. So
Yeah,
that's how
that's
dance
right.
translates. So with Kathak dancers, I think it's very essential.
Mohammed ji says very true. I hope मुराद भाई को जवाब मिल गया होगा what he was looking for, and मैं उनकी दूसरी चिट्ठी का इंतजार करता हूँ. What have been your struggles in this field of? You're still a lawyer. You still have a choice.
I always have a choice, and I'll always keep that choice.
Yeah.
It's very important. कभी
Achha, I wanted to ask you, when we were talking about the support you got from your family, support you got from your husband, who himself is a great lawyer, and what was his reaction when you said, "मुझे वकालत नहीं करनी, मुझे डांस करना है."
I mean, my husband was like 150% with it. Firstly, he's a very musical person also. गाने का बहुत शौक है, अच्छा आवाज अच्छी है, ट्रेनिंग कम है.
I've heard. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah. And piano बहुत अच्छा बजाते हैं. He's actually very gifted musician. मतलब कि हम तो सीख रहे हैं ये कान से सुन के, मतलब as I'm sure Murad bhai can relate, any trained musician. He plays by ear. उनको कोई भी आप धुन दे देंगे वो बजा देंगे पियानो पे, मतलब बिना किसी. So I think that's actually, so he has that gift. तो एक तरह से, और बहुत शौक था, मतलब शादी के पहले, अब शादी के बाद ऐसा नहीं है, लेकिन शादी के पहले he used to take me on my first date with him. मतलब जब ये कोशिश कर रहे थे लाइन मारने की or whatever, he said, I will take you for महाराज जी का परफॉर्मेंस है at a friend's wedding. वो संगीत पे उनका एक प्रोग्राम है, तो चलोगे? अच्छा. वैसे अदरवाइज नहीं मैं उनको अच्छा हाँ बिल्कुल चलो. That was the first time I went out with him, and उसके बाद से two lovely things about him. He attended, मतलब एक हाथ पे I could count कितनी performances इन्होंने miss की हैं. दीदी, शोभना दीदी will also tell you, all my friends who I danced with at that time, हर चीज को attend करते थे. And दूसरा, he would always take me for performances in the evening. हम बहुत कुछ देखते थे, every evening go to Kamani, Habitat, so कुछ. So he totally उसी से मुझे हटा लिया ऐसे.
And what about now? He says, यार फंसाया तो मैंने शादी के लिए था, and because you were a lawyer and you are a dancer now.
Badminton, I have to work, I have to go for a friend's party. So अब मैं अकेले जाती हूँ चीजें देखने के लिए. So कोई बात नहीं, अब वो भी अच्छा ही है.
वो भी अच्छा, हाँ, that's true. So we were talking about your struggles. So how? अभी मुराद भाई एक खास सवाल पूछ रहे हैं, वो अभी उसमें अभी टाइम है, because we'll have to take this show to another extend about 10-15 minutes, I think. So I have a few other questions that I really want to ask you here. So let's talk about your struggles. See, because making a mark for yourself in this field is quite important, and standing out between सबके बीच में अलग रहना is kind of difficult and important. How do you manage that? How did you manage that?
Thank you. If I've done it, I'm very grateful.
I don't know if you have done it or not, but पता नहीं, मैंने सोचा.
I don't know. That's not the important.
I'm sure you have done it. Yeah, that is what I have noticed, and I have photographed, and videos जब भी किया. So I see that. So that is why I'm asking you.
So I think it's not a conscious decision. Thankfully, maybe that's why it comes across. I think everyone is a product. जो भी experiences हैं आपके, जैसे आपने सीखा, जिनसे आपने सीखा, जिनके साथ काम किया, वो कहीं ना कहीं सब लोग आके अंदर मिल जाते हैं,
yeah,
in a lot of ways. So I would say learning from someone as open-minded. I'm just going on those aspects now, which I think may help me to be slightly different. Shobna Didi's mind is so open. She's so traditional, but she's very much a modern, empowered, contemporary woman. Resonates मेरे साथ वो थोड़ा resonate करता है with my education. जो मुझे लगता है एक औरत की पोजीशन होनी चाहिए इन सोसाइटी, अपने बलबूते पे और अपने दम पे जो भी है, मतलब कॉन्फिडेंस के साथ So that's, I mean, her. Then Muzaffar Ali Sahab. I worked he was one of the first people to have noticed me. दीदी के एक प्रोडक्शन में हम ग्रुप में डांस किया था, एंड वो भी एक इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है, टेल यू अदरवाइज टेक टू मच टाइम, बट एनीवे उन्होंने वहां पे मुझे नोटिस किया था, एंड उसके बाद उन्होंने मुझे एक लखनऊ में शो दिया था मजाज की शायरी के ऊपर, और उसको जहाने खुसरो दिया था, एंड दीज अगेन वर वेरी सो, बट और तब से आई हैव वर्कड मेनी टाइम्स विद हिम, एंड मुजफ्फर साहब एंड मीरा जीज एस्थेटिक, एंड वो अपने हाथ से, मतलब आप सोचो अरब की सराय में कैंडल्स जल रही हैं, अपने हाथ से जला रहे हैं, अपने हाथ से सेट बन रहा है, जस्ट बिकॉज उनको वो एस्थेटिक चाहिए, यू नो, और वो किसी और पे तो एस्थेटिक वहां से। शर्मिष्ठा मुखर्जी, आई हैड द ग्रेट ऑनर, शी इज माय मेंटोर, उनके साथ काम करने से मुझे ये तैयारी वाली जो बात आपने की ना, कि तो वो उनके ग्रुप में बहुत तैयार डांसर्स, बहुत अमेजिंग डांसर्स, उनके साथ जब काम किया तो उस चीज को अप्लाई करने का मौका बहुत मिला। दिस थीमेटिक थिंग एक्चुअली अगेन शर्मिष्ठा दीदी से मुझे बहुत लाइक, जस्ट टू गिव एन एग्जांपल, उन्होंने एक प्रोडक्शन किया था बनारस के ऊपर, मतलब सिटी ऑफ बनारस, प्रॉपर कथक प्रोडक्शन, उसमें मतलब कुछ सब चीज मतलब कायदे की थी, बट जस्ट उनकी सोच जो थी इट वाज सो विजिबल इन दैट, तो वो चीज आई, एंड देन ज्वाला जी, म्यूजिकली उनके साथ काम करके थोड़ा सेंस बना ऑफ क्या सही क्या गलत, ये लोग खाते गए साथ साथ में, लाइक, सो आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाई एज अ डांसर व्हेन आई प्रेजेंट आई कैरी ज़किया ज़हीर जी, अनदर पोएट्री का शौक, वहां से, तो जिनके साथ भी काम किया उनसे बहुत कुछ सीखने को मिला, और उनसे बहुत कुछ वो आई गेस मिक्स हो जाता है इनसाइड, and so when I think of production, I keep everybody in mind as to but ये aesthetic ऐसा होना चाहिए, costume का ख्याल रखना according to what I'm doing, I'm very like conscious of this. अब कितना I succeed or fail it's always an experiment with every different thing, लेकिन ये चीजें मुझे बहुत मुझे लगता है साथ में लेके चलनी चाहिए, and yeah.
Interesting. So you've learned from Shobna ji for how many years? Like, I mean, like 20 years.
I mean, I'm still learning. I'm not done with learning. I'm still learning.
So that's great. And but and you're also learning from Maharaji now.
Of course,
you're learning from Pandit Richa Maharaji. So how did that happen? How did you start learning from Maharaji? Because I remember the way you were telling me that you were very little और Maharaji ने आपको उधर उनकी क्लास में, so the they say there's a क्या कहावत है, दुनिया गोल है, and it comes back to kind of जैसे मेरे साथ भी हुआ, so जो सोचा इतने सालों पहले वो अब जाके हुआ,
हमने ये बात की,
exactly, हाँ exactly. So how did that happen?
So yeah, Maharaji first meeting was at Kathakendra Scary Audition. वहाँ पे उन्होंने मुझे इस क्लास में डाला, उसके बाद से next time I met, I mean obviously performances देखना ये वो तो चल ही रहा था, बल्कि उन्होंने हमारे संगीत पे, वेदांत और मेरे शादी के संगीत पे also we invited him, and he was very kind to come and do something. उस वक्त I obviously wasn't learning from him, but next interaction जो हुई वो Commonwealth Games पे हुई 2010 में, जो ओपनिंग सेरेमनी के लिए हो रहा था फंक्शन, एंड दैट एज शोभना दीदीज डिसाइपल्स वी हैड ऑल आल्सो ऑडिशन्ड, एंड हमें भी काफी लोग थे साथ में इन अ बिग ग्रुप, एंड वहां पे देन वी, आई मीन months of rehearsal, क्या, I mean it was beautiful, क्या बारिश हुई थी उस साल, although everything was going down the drain because of the बारिश, लेकिन हमें बहुत मजा आ रहा था, and सारे गुरु लोग आसपास, very exciting time. तो उस वक्त, and in fact Mahua Didi, I don't know if she remembers, Mahua Didi आई थी after the thing had finished, the whole ceremony and everything, and एक दिन वो आई थी, उन्होंने कहा शिवानी, महाराज जी is asking, would you like to तुम क्लासेस ज्वाइन करो, वो चाह रहे हैं कि तुम भी क्लासेस ज्वाइन करो कला आश्रम में, तो आई वाज वेरी ऑनर्ड ऑब्वियसली, मतलब इतना बड़ा मौका टू विद महाराज जी, सो आई वेंट एंड स्पोक टू शोभना दीदी देन, एंड आई सेड कि दीदी ये मुझे message आया है. So what do you think? It's like, can I also go? So Didi said at that time, she said, look, it's fine, but अभी ठीक वक्त नहीं है, and अभी
अच्छा.
अभी hold on. So 100. I mean, Didi, I have 150%. Like I can give my life in her hands.
Because the guru knows, because she must have seen and she knows that
Of course.
जैसे कि अभी वक्त नहीं था.
अभी वक्त नहीं था. So ठीक है, that was the end of it. And then this is 2010, and then everything continued. Like really good things happened and a lot of learning happened. फिर उसके बाद दीदी से मेरी फिर एक बार किसी परफॉर्मेंस, आई थिंक बसंत उत्सव ही था या कहीं, तो आई मेट अगेन, पैर छुए महाराज जी के, शाश्वती दीदी ऑल्सो, कब आ रही हो, कहती रहती हो आ रही हो कि नहीं. सो आई सेड कि आई मीन, so again I felt maybe I should ask Shobna Didi, and this was many years later. तो मैं फिर से दीदी के पास गई, कहा दीदी, I want to, if you give me permission, I want to explore this. तो महाराज जी, I mean, like Maharaj ji, that's Didi's view. Like, so
exactly.
Then you have that whole starstruck thing उनके बारे में ना, कि वो तो जैसे आप उस्ताद जी के बारे में बता रहे थे, that you felt.
Tell
like
me
that.
about it.
So I was like, can I please? So Didi, I mean, it's like she said yes. Why don't you? It's good. It was like totally, and I was like, okay, she knows, like whatever. So okay, fine.
So yeah, then she must have seen that you were ready then.
What is that? The general. That's what I'm saying. So उन्होंने जो भी सोचा उस वक्त और इस वक्त, जो भी सही डिसीजन था दोनों टाइम के लिए, and बिल्कुल ठीक था, because that time would not have been the right time for me to go there. तो अब फिर दीदी से पूछ के फिर मैं गई वहाँ पे, और फिर मैंने पूछा कि may I join? They were very, very welcoming.
Achha.
That's how.
And now you've been learning from him for the last like a year or so, or more than that?
2 years. लॉकडाउन को तो भूल ही जाता ना साल, but
हाँ, लॉकडाउन तो हाँ.
लॉकडाउन से पहले, so I would say 4 साल now. Seriously, because it took me some time to, मतलब दीदी से बात, शोभना दीदी से बात करने के बाद भी मुझे 1.5 साल लगा to go. It's not like I joined immediately.
अच्छा.
I have this problem. I don't know. Even when I joined Shobna Didi, the first time I called her to, मुझे सीखना है, I called her expecting someone else to pick up. And I said, hello. And she said, मैं शोभना नारायण बोल रही हूँ. I just slammed the phone down. Then I called her.
Could this be the reason that you didn't become a lawyer actually? Okay, if you start forgetting things, 1.5 year.
No, not forget. It's because these are larger than life people. Even though
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so blessed.
And you've grown up seeing them, and only on stage in newspapers and.
Yeah. So
exactly. Same story.
So it's just like scary. Like even now, Didi and Maharaji dono ke samne, I feel very scared. Like Didi, many times during when she used to make me rehearse for my solo, मैं रोने लग जाती थी, not out of anything, but I actually feel scared till today. But not her, even Maharaji. Like I feel like it's like वो moment आता है कि pinch me someone, मैं यहीं पे हूँ. Like is this me? Like is this?
Remember when we were sitting the other day and I got that call and I told you, please don't judge me once as soon as I pick up the phone. So because वहाँ पे नहीं आवाज निकलती.
Yeah.
So I have one last question that we usually, because we're already 50 minutes now, and I've, like you said, कि stage पे जब performance होती है तो कितनी देर के लिए वो होनी चाहिए? Audience must not get bored and start leaving. So उसको crisp जितना रखें, जितना crisp हो, it's better. But Murad bhai always has a last question. That is quite a difficult one. So again, Murad bhai ने चिट्ठी लिखी है, so I'll just read it. हमारा खास सवाल, अगर एक दिन के लिए शिवानी वर्मा जी को कल्चरल एम्बेसडर बनाया जाए तो ऐसा क्या जरूरी काम है आर्ट फ्रेटर्निटी में जिसको आप चेंज करना चाहेंगी? सोच समझ के जवाब दीजिएगा.
Art fraternity में change या art?
I mean, in general, the scenario that the artists, probably the kind of complaints that artists have, they don't get the support they need or they should get, like the Western countries or whatever you think कि ये ठीक नहीं है जिसको हमें change करना चाहिए.
See, I think हमें जो चेंज चाहिए, I may not answer your question, मुराद भाई, अगर नहीं आंसर करता है तो प्लीज करेक्ट मी. The
हाँ,
massive
but
change.
even if you want to pass, that's fine.
No, I don't want to pass. There are many changes required. लेकिन education में art has to come in, like music, dance, art, performing arts from school level, like a subject, to study over time. अगर शायद चाहे एक क्लास 2 क्लास हफ्ते की हो, ताकि people's ears start getting trained, eyes get used to seeing, ताकि ये ना लगे कि ये तो बोरिंग है, या ये तो
exactly.
अगर schools में somehow the system, if I ever get any position in that, I would work on the education aspect में उस चीज को शुरुआत करें, मतलब educational institutions में ये चीज डालें, ताकि everyone doesn't have to become professional, लेकिन देखने की क्षमता डेवलप हो जाए हर आम आदमी में, जैसे कि होती थी. मतलब हम अपने गुरुओं से जब सुनते हैं ये बात, तो ऐसे हर चाय वाला, पान वाला apparently used to know about every complicated performing arts tradition, लेकिन अब चीज वो नहीं है. अब तो उस चीज को वापस लाने के लिए my efforts I would like to put in that direction if ever given that chance.
Chalo, hopefully, because you have a great you have great ideas and you have great thoughts about this, so maybe hopefully we'll see that happening soon. और जब भी हो मुझे भूलना मत. सी जब भी किसी बड़ी पोस्ट पे हो या all that, मेरे को याद रखिएगा.
लोग सलामी देने आते हैं,
मुझे याद रखिएगा.
जूते तो याद
रखिएगा बस. नहीं, मैंने वो गलती से ना रेड लाइट जल गई थी पीछे की. So thank you so much, Shivani, for being on our show today. It was so wonderful. But I usually, अभी तो मुझे लगता है अगर हम बातें करते रहें तो we can go on. But Murad Bhai says क्या, thank you so much, Shivani ji. Nupur ji says, और Murad Bhai said क्या बात है माशाल्लाह about your answer about that. And Mahua ji says, thank you so much, dear Shivani, for sharing this your beautiful journey with us. It was a pleasure having and hearing you. Thank you, Ini Singh ji. Thank you so much, Mahua ji. Thank you so much for joining. Again, आप लोगों ने ही मुझे यहाँ बैठाया हुआ है, वरना मैं तो आज सुबह भी सोच रहा था कि मैंने फिर से शुरू कर लिया, फिर से बातें करो. But it's kind of interesting because, and with these interviews, what I've been thinking, like when I was talking to you, I was thinking कि इसको start कैसे करूँ. So, and the start has to be really good and the end has to be really good. Otherwise, वो documentary की जो depth है वो आती नहीं है. Because I've been, समझदार को इशारा काफी है.
मेरी शपथ.
So hopefully.
You didn't make me take the शपथ.
Oh हाँ, my God, we forgot that. But चलो, आपने जो कुछ कहा सच ही कहा, सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं कहा.
That's true.
That's good. That's good. हाँ. So शपथ invisible हो गई. और वैसे हमने people who must be thinking कि ये क्या बोल रहे हैं, तो I'll just tell them कि we had planned कि starting हम करेंगे कि शिवानी से इनसे शपथ लेंगे कि आप जो कुछ कहेंगी, जो भी क्वेश्चन मैं पूछूंगा सच कहेंगी, सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं कहेंगी. But I've seen the questions and I've seen what answers you've given and they have been perfectly, बिल्कुल वो था, मेरी लाल बत्ती भी जल गई थी. हाँ, बिल्कुल सेफ था. जब भी and I'll just tell the audience कि जब भी आपको लगे कि जब भी आपको ये रेड लाइट नजर आए पीछे, तो just think कि हम किसी रेड जोन में आ गए हैं, कोई डेंजरस जोन आ गया, कोई टॉपिक ऐसा आ गया. But again, thank you so much and thank you to everybody. Thank you, Shobna ji, for joining us and commenting. And I've had so much pleasure and it's an honor to work with her. इतना मजा आता है उनके साथ videos पे काम करके and photography के लिए भी. And to all the people who have joined us, Nitin bhai was here. I think he's left now. Awesome guys. अच्छा नहीं, Nitin bhai सुन रहे थे, क्या बात है. Thank you, Nitin bhai. वंदे मातरम भी इनका प्रोफाइल पिक्चर है. और मेरा अगर आप व्हाट्सएप का डीपी देखें तो मैं जिनका फैन हूँ वो है रजनीकांत. So and thank you so much. I just want to add one thing. वो जो आपके पीछे पेंटिंग लगी है जिसमें वो डेयर है, is he dancing or is he like वो पेंट ही ऐसा ये वाला?
You want to know the truth? I'll tell you my Vedant's interpret. Oh, I don't know how to show it to you now. Wait. There's a leopard.
Oh, अच्छा, ऊपर leopard भी है. Okay.
So Vedant says that you can decipher for yourself कि deer कौन है और चीता कौन है.
Oh, ये तो बहुत easy है.
So without
I've been married for 21 years. I know that.
that is what if he was here, he would tell you this answer. So I don't mind being a cheater.
So you said it.
I don't, yeah.
मैंने तो नहीं बताया.
I said whole truth and nothing but the truth.
No, nothing but the truth. Aman bhai joined us. Aman Ali Khan ji, Murad bhai ke brother. Tabla, he's, आप तो जानते ही हैं. Adabers to all. Adab. And we have
Hi.
Aditya Diwan says, ha. Shivani is the cheetah, he says.
Yeah, he's very close. Thanks, Dee.
Yeah, so I've been, like I said, I'm married. So if a husband says कि ये painting में एक मैं और एक मेरी wife है, वो बड़ा मेरे लिए तो वो आंसर बहुत easy है.
That's good.
And again, thank you so much. And किस को thank you करूं? Thank you to everybody, and we'll hopefully see you next week with another episode. I haven't finalized who that will be because अभी तो मुझे पता ही नहीं कि मैं next episode कर भी रहा हूं कि नहीं. But thank you so much, and thank you, Shivani. Had so much fun, and
honor. Thank you.
It's an honor and it's a pleasure to have you here, and I hope you all the best, and don't say you don't need it. So all the best.
I need all the wishes, all the blessings, and thank everybody who's watched, and I hope I haven't taken up too much of your time. So.
Absolutely not. It was wonderful. Thank you so much, and good night to everybody. Take care and stay safe. Thank you. Bye.